Welcome to another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast. This will be episode 3 with us, me and Coach Derry. But we have a special guest today, Coach Eric Vaughn. Coach Eric Vaughn is the mastermind behind the Wing Raid offense. He is also the offensive coordinator at Castlewood High School. Coach, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good, but mastermind, we can leave that off.
What is the Wing Raid offense, and kind of how did it originate?
So I had, played through college and all that jazz, and played some arena ball. And when I got back to where I could coach, and I was like, okay, I want to coach. I want to do this thing on the other side of the ball. I went to it was a private school here in East Tennessee, Tri-Cities Christian, and struggling kind of program. They had been playing 8-man, and when I arrived, I was like, let's make the transition into 11-man. And so we started just kind of, I don't know, it was different for the players, right? Because they were so used to 8-man, and I don't know if you guys have ever been exposed to the 8-man game, but there's very specific things you can do with motion to know if it's man. I mean, it's easier to hide man coverage with motion in 11-man than it is 8, right? Because it's just weird. And, you hear Nate Albaugh talks about it a lot now with, having an even number of men just really messes with you. So it was different in trying to teach them how to do that. And I started looking for answers myself. And I had never been in a zone system, zone blocking just has never been my forte. So the easiest thing for me to grasp onto was going back to wing T roots. And I kind of reached out, and it was actually through the Huey board, years ago, and got a hold of Pat Murphy when he was at Capitol High School. And so put in a lot of the things that he was doing out of the gun, evolved my wing T stuff to the pistol, kind of what you see with Rick Stewart now. And in 2008, we went to the TAACS state championship, lost. 2009 did the same thing, lost, but we got there. And then 2010 was a kind of an off year. And then 11, we actually went on and won the NACA national championship for Division 5 schools. And that's how I kind of evolved the Wing Raid. It started off with wanting to run the ball and then trying to figure out how to keep guys out of the box, to where you're not facing 9 in the box all the time. And, I never did call it the Wing Raid until about probably 2-3 years ago. I was coaching with a team. It was going to be the Tennessee Yellow Jackets. It was with a league sort of like the XFL, sort of like the what you would call the AF. What was it?
What was it? The AAFL or AF?
Yeah, AAF, I think. Or anyways, it was like one of those leagues. And so I had got on with Tennessee Yellow Jackets and was offensive coordinator there, and we had a ton of really good guys from different colleges, mostly D2. Some were D1AA. I will not call it FCS. I just don't do that. I can't make the switch, and it's still this many years later. But yeah, and I was running sort of the same system and opened up the playbook a little bit, and the guys were like, hey, I like this. This is pretty neat. What's your system? And I didn't have a name. So it was the merge of the two names. It was Wing T and Air Raid. And I created a nice fancy logo and now everybody just asks me what it is, and I kind of just, you know, um, everyone that's good at something borrows from someone else, right? Every coach borrows, and I did the same from Pat Murphy, and then even all the way up to now. There are some things with going into this spring, I'm gonna do a lot of things that that Kenny Simpson does. Coach Simpson does, like with his pod practices.
Yeah.
I'm going to incorporate that because we're supposed to only have 18 calendar days before we play.
Ooh.
Our first practice is supposed to be February 4th, and our first game is February 22nd on a Monday. So
Monday.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Yeah, that's Virginia. So that's where the wing raid come from. I mean, it's just kind of been this thing that I've grown and grown and grown, and just kind of evolved into this, and some guys ask me, well, what do you do to combat running wing T systems? And you just name it something cool, and then they're none the wiser. If you don't tell them you're running wing T, they don't know.
There you go. Now I kind of want to build off.
Level, at least.
I kind of want to build off that because me and you messaged back and forth, and me and Coach Derry talked about it when I told him I got you on. And for those who don't know, what are kind of the base run plays and pass plays that you've kind of mirrored from the wing T and from the air raid?
So I saw obviously Buck. The Buck family is number one, pistol and gun. I actually listened to you and the Coach Sheffer when you had him on. I listened to that today, and you guys talked about running trap out of gun. And so for me, I run the belly series out of gun as well, but I motion the wing.
Okay.
So that the same way that my wing, so if we're in pistol, the T-back, halfback, whatever you want to call him, for us, I just call it T-back because that way they understand it's the T-back. You're even with the QB. And anyways, when it comes to motion in gun, we still run our belly ISO. To get my traps out of gun, I run belly T or tackle trap back to that 3 off of so it's almost like a crossbuck action. So technically, I can still keep my trap out of gun. Obviously, it's not going to hit as fast as pistol trap or under center trap, but the deception is so much better for trap out of that. So pistol, run the down series, still on that elusive hunt to try to make the down series work out of the gun. But again, it's like trap. It has to hit at a certain, like what you said, and I heard the podcast today, has to hit at a certain speed. And if it doesn't, I mean, it's not really down because you're not getting that good kick out with somebody screaming off of their hip. And so I'm still trying to figure out a way to get that done out of the gun. But really, if I want to get into that, the belly family is either way, but down is out of pistol. I'll run jet out of either one. The whole jet family pretty much out of that. And then when I get into motioning either the wing across for trips, right? So if we're talking about the gun stuff only, the standard stuff that, Coach Murphy did years ago when he started that trend is the twins to one side, tight end wing to the other, with fullback over the tackle to the twins. And so I'll just either motion the wing across to make trips, or I'll just align, what we call ace where it's just 1-by-1 with a tight end wing. And technically, I call it ace, but really it gives us trips because you have tight end, wing, and that flanker. So I can get in. I don't run much. I have Verts in, but I don't run Verts from a 2-by-2 at all, because we never see too high. We're never going to see too high. At Castlewood, we're never going to see too high. If we see too high, we're going to be in single wing base, and we're going to run for however many yards the clock allows us, right? But all of my Verts is number 1 is outside release. Number 2, which is usually the wing, is crossing the free safety with the tight end block delay up the seam.
Right.
And that's the way I run my Verts. It's just to pick on that single high is all I want. I just want to occupy him, occupy the corner, and have somebody shoot up the seam. And that's about it. Huge on Snag. Snag is that's my beloved play. I love that out of everything. RPO stuff on the backside. I like to set my guy down and catch that ball and then turn and run. I'm not gone throwing the one thing that differs from me and Coach Simpson is that I will settle my guy in there and catch that ball rather than running a slant on through on what he calls peak. I call it every time we tag an RPO, it's repo. For us, is what I call repo RPO, and so it's repo sit for us. And that's it. I mean, we'll throw some stick, and I do have some motion stuff for Z cross and Y cross, so we throw some of that stuff as well. But really, I like to keep it simple, keep it base. I do run shallow. I do like to run shallow just because if I can get the wing on the release, and what I'll do is I'll fake to our F coming across, and he'll fill, and we'll pull the strong side guard, right? So most shotgun wing T guys are a strong side and a quick side. They'll flip-flop because it's so much easier for teaching. So our strong side guard will pull. I hit my mic. Will pull and, kind of like a waggle for us. And that way we can get the tight end on the shallow, and then we can get the wing on the dig with the flanker on the post or a post from the twins, either one.
First, I kind of want to ask about the verticals because, man, it's kind of, well, what kind of technique do you do from a defensive side? I'm a too high guy. But obviously, I'm a get out flank guy. What are some of the things that you do to occupy the free safety? Like what? Because to me, when done right, I'll have a corner on a divider, and the free safety kind of sits in the middle, and then the corner kind of lurks. And also, guys, to me, I'm not always worried about a 3D. A number 3 running vertical because they got a lot of linebacker help.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that would help, occupy that free safety on a vertical concept?
Well, it depends. If I can get a good free release with my tight end, I'll let him cross the safety's face on the single high. But most of the time, we're gonna get somebody in a 9 that's just looking to blow him up, right? Just trying to get inside the wing. Because they know Buck is going to come, Down's going to come, whatever we're looking at, they know something, along those lines is. So if I can get the tight end on a quick release inside, then I'm good, and I'll let him cross the face. But most of the time, it's going to be the wing who can get vertical quicker, and then that allows the tight end to chip that defensive end, let the running back come over and fill, and then get up the seam. So in your scenario, it is a number 3 getting up the seam without that linebacker help. So all of my verts are they cross like that, and they cross on purpose.
That makes a lot. That's a lot tougher. Now I didn't realize they crossed it. Now that messes with the cornerback.
Because
the cornerback won't be on that divider anymore. Because he'll see his kid going this way, and then he's got one here, and you're not counting the seam because there's no one there yet.
Yeah, so I will also go trips. Trips over. And so I will bring my twins that are opposite the tight end wing over to the wing side, right? Mm-hmm. And that gives me a true trips. And then so when we go trips over, anytime it's over, the tight end and tackle swap, right? So the tight end goes to the nub side. So now we have tackle over wing, and I'll draw this up on the interactive board. But the number one, right, furthest outside, is hard outside up the not up the hatches, but below the numbers on the sidelines. All right, he's got that area. Number two, now in that trips over, because now you've got twins outside of the wing, but we're still in a position to run buck. And so now that defensive end really has to do his job, but it doesn't matter because that's a tackle. So now number two in the slot can shoot straight for what I call eyes route, right? I want you to get in the eyes of the free safety and cross his face. And then that leading, who now releases like arrow, his first two steps are flat, and then hard cuts it straight up the hash. Yeah, well, depending on where you're at on the field.
I think I love that. On all seriousness, I got this from a coach that coached all the way up way northern than I did. I got to coach with him 1 year, and I haven't really had to coach against it. And it never made sense until I saw him do it. He always taught that crossing route to get to the eyes of the free safety, and he always taught him to whip his head to the quarterback as he did it. And
because
like that dude, I've never seen so many. He showed me film. I've never seen so many free safeties trying to get the.
Then they you get that complete drop step open, almost like a lineman on a bucket step. I mean, they're expecting ball, so they're opening their chest away from what you're now going to throw on the seam. So
that's tough. When I saw that for the first time, I was like, that is brilliant. So I guess the main thing I want to kind of get to, what's your install schedule look like? Are you? I've always been a installer series every day. So if you're running jets, we were a jet team, so we'd introduce the three complementary plays outside of that, which was jet, and then we'd always do trap and down. And that was what we ran underneath of it. And if we have time, we do belly. Are you something like that, or are you formation or what?
Well, so I don't really have that many formations. Okay. We at Castlewood right now, so I'll speak to that. We run single wing, we run pistol wing T. So we have base unbalanced single wing, and we do a little bit of beast formation. So like your three backs are up on the unbalanced side. So we'll run a little bit of that. We're gonna run a box series this year that'll be really nice, and it's just literally like imagine bounce line 4 to the right, and then you move your blocking back over to the weak side, your wing to the weak side, and then you have your what we call the 3 over to the over the tackle like in gun, and then your 4, which is kind of the quarterback, is taking the snaps. So it creates like a box to the weak side. So now you have all of your strong side running game on the unbalanced side. So we're going to have that. The easy thing for me is I don't do series a day. I'll go base plays, and I spend a ton of time ahead of time. So one of the things that I think a lot of coaches should do that we've done, and I don't know, like if you guys have ever used Discord, right, for gaming. A lot of people use it for whatever, Discord channels and all that. I created a Discord for us at Castlewood, and then went in and did a bunch of Zoom recordings last year. and then I did them this year. Sorry. I didn't do it last year. I did it before we were supposed to play this fall because it feels like last year. But now I've got it in for this coming spring. It just feels like forever since we played football. But yeah, so I spend a lot of time getting them to understand, learning the family, right? The lookalikes and understanding how the plays evolve from that parent play, how each one complements, and then that way, as long as they're really good at the base play of every family, every series, the counters and the other stuff off of it become really easy, and the light bulbs, they come on a little bit quicker because now they understand, well, we're doing this play to attack here, and when they shift, this is how, we're jab, 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 sucker punch, right hook, whatever, you want to call it. But that's the way that I teach it. So I go base plays first, nail those down, because and especially last year with the short time we had, we really, we evolved our wing tee pistol stuff later in the year. And it morphed really slowly. This year we have, from February 4th to the 22nd, first practice and then a game. So I can't even tell you what the install schedule is going to look like for this year. I do know what it's going to look like. It's going to look like a lot more gray hair in the mirror on my head. That's one thing, because it's ridiculous. I don't know. I'm not going to rant about that.
That's why you just shave it like me, Coach, and then it just doesn't become a problem.
Well, I'm trying to hang on to my hair as long as possible. Yeah. I've crossed 40, so I'm 41 now.
Well, so, hey, just think of this. At least your hairline doesn't look like Coach Derry's hair. And Coach Derry's... no. And Coach Derry's 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, like, at 41, I'm like, yeah, I'll keep this. I'm not going to shave. Yeah. We let the young assistant shave his head after beating the county rival last year that we hadn't beat since the 80s. Well, or no, he didn't shave his head. He shaved his beard, which is even worse.
I kind of want to build off this because, like I said, we messaged back for about questions and stuff so we could all prepare and be good about that. I kind of want to build off this because you talked about, your practice schedule is evolving for the spring, and obviously COVID right now makes it just pain on all of us. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it doesn't. But how do you coach, especially new coaches or coaches in your system, to prepare them? I think it's always an underrated thing with the wing tee and just offensive systems in general, actually. Let's just start with that, and then I'll hit the next two questions.
So like I said, we came in last year, and we had 4 weeks or so before we played. And we did as much as we could with our assistants. But it was just literally every chance that I had, every second that I had to try to get them chalk time after, workouts or 2-a-days or practice or whatever. I just constantly was evolving. Over quarantine, I assigned some reading material and gave them the, Delaware wing tee, order of football, and said, read this, understand this. You don't have to memorize the book, but just, it's quoted as the wing tee Bible, so to speak. So I just said, hey, learn about the game. And what was beautiful is we were running single wing. And so it was easy for him to see how the single wing, historically evolved into the wing tee when, Dave Nelson took it and, took the Buck series from the single wing and then turned it into the Buck series that we know now in the wing tee. So kind of teaching that, and then the kids, you would think the kids would would be like, oh my God, this is so ancient, or like, because I told them, I was like, hey, this offense has been around since blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the date, but it's like 18, it's like 1890 something or 1920 ish. It's like somewhere in that range was when the single wing like officially became whatever. And, it wasn't until 1950 ish. There might be some people that watch this and just absolutely grill me on this one, but the dates they're out, right? So, but that's general timeline. So I was just telling them, like, this offense, you're learning things, because a lot of people at the high school level, when they run spread, they never learn, like, they'll run GT counter, but they never know the origins of it. And so for our kids, they actually liked the idea that what they're doing has been ran that long. Like they kind of flipped the other side, and it was weird for me.
It is like, how many kids look at, kids are dumb. They watch NFL or especially college, and they see 5 wide, doubles, nothing, a lot of 10 personnel, and they're like, why don't we do something? And then if they don't understand the offense, like you talk about, it's amazing. Just me studying my first year coaching, how much the wing tee has evolved. But now you're teaching the kids, hey, this isn't what you're running. This is how much it's evolved too. They're like, oh, we're not running an offense that's 60 years old. You know what I mean? They can kind of process like, okay, we could be running this. This is how much it's evolved and how, like, just new it is. And I think, honestly, I never even thought about how brilliant that is. Because, I coached at a place where the wing tee was ran there for 30 years. The coaches kind of got ran out. They wanted to spread. And they're kind of struggling right now on offense. But they never knew. They always thought the wing tee, we ran a 90-year-old offense. And I was like, that's so far from the truth. But, like, the kids in the community just didn't understand that, especially the kids. And I'd never even thought about giving them a book and saying, this is how much you learn about it.
So I used that. One of the things, though, it depends school to school, right? The kids that are at Castlewood, that's a smaller town where the kids are it's very blue collar, very hardworking. There's a lot of farmland. So you've got kids there who are up working with family on the farm at 5:36 a.m. and then go to school and then work out and then practice and then whatever, and then go home and help close it out. And so their mentality was a big contributor to us being able to create an identity around an offense that is built to be a sledgehammer, right? So, like, when you take hardworking kids from hardworking community and you get them to buy in on that, and that was one of the things I did. I asked the boosters, the parents, I said, I don't know where we can get one, but I want a big, huge blue sledgehammer. And they carried it out on the field, and we'll continue to do it next year or in the spring. But it became this thing that they polarized around, right? And it was different with Tri-Cities Christian because that was a whole different type of community. Kid, right? It's a different community. That's a lot of parents paying tuition and things, and so that was more of a had to prove to them schematically, right? Because also, it is affluent kids that are there, but there's scholarships available and all these things. But then also, those are really smart kids. So not only do you get them to understand what you're doing, but you also have to say, okay, this is why we're doing it, because they're going to ask you the questions about, well, if we're doing this and this guy comes, and all the things, and like they're processing in the way that they would do with their schoolwork, you have to be able to say, well, that's why this play exists, right? Crisscross on buck. That's why it exists. Trap for buck. That's why it exists.
Sure.
So, yeah.
All right.
But I don't remember where we got off on that, but I know that you had asked about install.
Yeah.
It's base plays first, and then build the counters and everything else off of it.
I'll tell you what, I jotted that down because that is really smart. I like that.
All right, can I continue with that? Obviously, base plays, counters. Now, what does your typical practice schedule look like? How much time do you get? And then kind of what are the out? And I sent this to you because this is where I'm always kind of curious because I know like Kenny Simpson has his own little like the pods and stuff like that. What are the absolute must drills that you need? Your position coach done as in group periods. Like again, me and you message back and forth. Like, I mean, I love scheme to death, and we'll get to scheme here in a minute. But like, I don't know the coaching points, and I don't know kind of the drills to develop that play, it's kind of pointless. It really is. So kind of like, what is your practice schedule like? How do you practice it? And then kind of what are your absolute drills that need done for either you or your position coaches?
All right. Well, just like everybody else, Monday is install day. If we're talking about in season, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Monday's install day for that week, which for us is this year it won't be new stuff. Last year we were adding new plays throughout the season because we had to, right? We only had that short amount of time to install the base of what we ran, and so we lost 3 seniors from last year. Only one of them played both ways and was a good contributor running the ball, but we return everyone. So this year's practice is going to look a lot different for us because we have all of our offensive line back, all of our backfield back, everything back on defense except for a defensive end and an outside linebacker, and that's it, and one corner. But we rotated him, so like we have everything back, and so Monday's install, walk through. I am big on chalk it, talk it, walk it, run it, right? So that's big for me. Chalk it, talk it, walk it, run it. That I am huge on that. A lot of guys will get out and they'll just they'll have a play or whatever. I'm not that way. Mondays for us, if I've got something that I want them to see, if it's game specific or whatever, before we hit the field on Monday, I'll draw it up and literally show it to them. I'll have it drawn up before they get in because I'm not a teacher. I'm non-faculty. But I'll have it drawn up before they get in. And then when they get there, they'll see it. And then we talk it. Then we go out, we walk it so that they understand the flow of everything and blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of times in Wing T, there's timing, blah, 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 especially with the blocks. So big deal for me. That's the way I do it. Tuesday is a hard hit day for us. Wednesday is hard hit day for us. We're big on going all out. Unless we get thin, we pretty much are full bore. We'll run Castlewood's a little small, so we have a lot of two-way players. So we'll go, starting O against the best we got for our scout D, and then same thing, best we got O against our first D. And we script practice only in periods, not really plays. I like to call practice the same way that I'm going to call a game so that they get used to if something works in practice and we bust, a 10-yard or 15-yarder up the middle and trap, green light, get on it, go. I'm going to run the same thing and then come back with a buck sweep off pistol or whatever, however you want to coach your system and what you do. But the way that I do it is that I'm always big. And one of the things that I do not do, I refuse to interrupt whether it's group or team, to do fine coaching. I'll pull the kid aside later and go over it with him. But I don't want, if there's an issue in Indy, I tell everybody to address it. But if it's in group or team, I don't want to waste time going over that thing that should be addressed in Indy, address it the next day, right? But if it's Wednesday, we definitely have to hit it after practice. Why are you taking this step? Why are you doing this? And just, recap it as the best that we can.
Okay, Coach. Now, I kind of want to start getting scheme. That's where you have the interactive board. I'll share my screen so that way everybody can see it. But I mean, and Coach Derry will chime in here as well. But there's kind of like four main things I want to bug you about. Obviously, Buck and Belly are kind of the fundamental wing tee plays. We'll hit that. I've started literally loving Snag, and you talked about it a little bit earlier. I want to kind of pick your brain on that. And then obviously, you kind of see here, downs are already part of our logo. So, I mean, I have to hit on pistol down. And when I told Coach Derry about that, he got excited when we were talking pistol down. So, I mean, you can start where you want to start. I mean, if you want to go belly, if you want to go...
I'm drawing on my iPad, so whatever you want, you want to do.
Let's just start with belly from the gun and kind of coaching points, rules, kind of however you want to go into that. For those people listening on audio, he'll kind of break some stuff down, but the visual will be on YouTube as with most of this. But yeah, Coach Vaughn,
now,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So for us, and I'm speaking for Castlewood right now, right? I've seen other things, but I'm just going to show you. We always get a 6-man front, no matter who. Pretty much they'll try something for about half a quarter. And I told the players when we came last year, I said, guys, that's when I was stressing the rules of blocking. And I was telling them, what you see in front of you is going to change 5 or 6 times in a game, just because the way that we bounced, especially towards middle to end of the season last year, we would see all kinds of different crazy stuff. So we'll see this right here a lot. That right there. So this is why I wanted to run the belly series out of gun, because now we've got an easy, and so you can call, I don't know, whatever your tags are for blocking. For us, it's fold, right? So X-ray, X block is outside man down, fold is inside man out. So we will fold it this way and wrap. Either we'll chip that nose. We've got a senior center this year, so he should be pretty good. But so we can either chip down that nose, and when we run our belly, and so for us, it's belly ISO. I know a lot of if I don't call it belly XB, cross block, whatever, some guys get frustrated or get, whatever. But for us, they just know it as belly ISO. And we do the quick motion, and it's down, and that's the aiming point. Now, when we run it, our backside, we're what we call cutoff. So it's inside rip. We're inside gap rip this way.
Okay.
Right? And that way, what I was talking to you before we started sets us up so that if we need to, we just climb, and then now we fake, and now we're just tackle trap, and we come off of that, and we're bending.
Okay.
So to that backside tackle, if I catch him, if he sees the guy rip through, he's taught to squeeze and chase, right? If I catch him sitting, if he gets tired of watching us run belly and he just sits there, then that's when belly T's coming. And we'll use this guy this year. That quick tackle is, he cut way down. He's like almost 200 pounds. As fast as some of our running backs, about 6'1". So I'm excited to see him light somebody up on that play. But that's belly for us. And then I don't want to get too, let me use my undo. So belly, ISO is our base play that we teach. The belly T is the counter. We will also do belly snag, where we'll inside release, right? So that the influence this guy's eyes on the shoot route. And then he just bends that corner, and then we set right there. So we get the same motion with that dive to occupy here. So now we get that read with that invert that's rolled down. He has to either sit, if he wants to slow play it, then we'll throw it to the flat now. But if he wants to cover the flat like he should, or, depending on coverage, but we only see one high cover 3. So, if we see anything else, we've covered that enough. But snag for us looks like that.
Okay. Well, that looks good, Coach. What are your kind of coaching points for the snag route there and the, corner?
So what I want, corner, I want inside release. If you feel him leave you, bend the corner now, right? If you feel that guy leave to the flat, if he's eyeing that shoot route like he should, for the snag route, I want you at 6 yards deep, replacing number 2, right? So I don't want him to technically replace the defender. I want him to replace number 2, because what also we will get sometimes, and you can bubble screen it, but we'll get a walk down where he starts to split the difference. And then when he's splitting the difference to help with belly, we also have the bubble where we'll run belly, and then we crack block that. Well, you can't crack block, but you know what I'm talking about. And then we backpedal the bubble, and we'll let him be one-on-one, because anyone that we face, this guy is usually our corners that we face are usually the same distance as the free safety, and that's usually we never seen corners and a free safety past 12 yards was the deepest that we seen last year. The free safety, at least. But the corners that hang back, we never get the roll up. We played one team that we could have beaten them, but we, being a young team, we turned the ball over, had a bunch of fumbles, and just come up short. But they played us. They locked up man coverage anytime that we would go like double wing trips stuff. So, but yeah, that's snag for us. And then also, I'll show you same thing. I was talking about that trips over, where now our Y is here and the tackle's here. And now you've got trips here, same thing. So however they want to cover this, it's going to be the same thing. Inside release, if you feel him leave you, bend now to get in that corner's way, replacing number 2, and then we're running the shoot right off the line. And so that's the way I'll do it with the same play fake here. Feeling, And that way we get a good ride, pop off, and now we've got that natural pocket. And then we'll always run that route to tie up that free safety.
Okay.
Because if the free safety rolls with him and we do hit this, he knows that he's got the clean shot, opposite hash, and go.
Okay.
And that's just...
What do you teach a quarterback if they give you cloud support to a trips? So that corner kind of just sits in the flat. Now, this would have to obviously be out of a too high concept. But I can tell you things that I've done is since I play something pretty similar, other than I would just put a 3-tech away from the tight end and go 1, pretty much a 6, and then an outside backer.
Mm-hmm.
But there's sometimes I'd play a free highs and not apex this guy, but I would stack him, put him in maybe, I don't know, a 60 alignment, and I would cloud him underneath the snag route, let my corner squat and play the flat and corner, and then roll my safety over top and play the corner. You know what I mean? And just kind of cloud it. How would you teach a quarterback on an instance if they came out with that sort of coverage?
So you're talking about just a rolled down...
Yeah, it's almost like a too high look.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, if I seen that, we would just check Verts.
Okay.
I mean, straight.
Yep.
We just
you're
freeze.
Cloud, but you at the same time, man, it's also hard to. It's in theory you can cover Verts, but in theory it doesn't always translate.
Yeah, because what we would do is same play action, same pull, right? Same everything. He's dead to rights there, so he's opposite hash, right?
Yeah.
And then he is hard outside release, and then 2 steps up the seam. So somebody somewhere has to...
Yeah, well, they got to play... In theory, the corner got to play 2 in 1 zone, but this being so late getting out there, you'll never see him.
Yeah.
If it doesn't happen right away, we'll never see it.
I teach this right here, first step flat, and then 45 to push so that we get definite turn.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they are playing cloud or quarters, if we ever were to face that, I just want him locked.
Sure.
I want him locked, and I want him to cross with eyes in the backfield because, again, one of the tough parts for this kid right here at that backer that's apex, or not apex, but inverted down, is he has to look, is that really buck, right? Because if that's buck sweep, we all know that, and I will even kick this guy where we'll come down, kick here, and wrap. So for him, he's the guy that's in conflict the most there, and I really wish this didn't look like
you're a good coach.
Chicken's crash.
I do have a question as you kind of continue with this. How long do you tell that wing or on this vert concept or tight end, depending on what your formation is, to delay that release down the seam? Or what do you tell? Or what is the coaching point for? Is it a 1,000, 1,000 count? Is it sell the block for this? Is it do this steps? How do you teach that part?
I want it to look like arrow. I want it to look like what we would just call straight arrow to the flat. Because, and I'm not going to draw all that, but if we have tight end wing, tight end wing, and then our twins are over, for this wing, I want arrow because it looks almost, we're not going as hard inside, but if we get inside release, that's still flood. So even on verts, I still want it to mirror the same look in the first 2 steps, where that kid looking at the backfield has to make the decision, is this buck because this guy's screaming at me? Is it, if it's not, then, what do I do? And he has to decide that in 2 steps, because by the 3rd step, it's crossover left, or it's open right, crossover left, third step is right foot in the ground. So that's what I want is I'm really big, wing tee to the core. Like I said, lookalikes, everything lookalike. I want everything lookalike.
All right, and kind of continue with that. I mean, what is your buck sweep? The rules on it? What does that look like? I mean, neither one of us, me or Coach Derry, pretend to be buck sweep masters by any means. Like we're big on belly, jet, and we'll get down here in a minute. But I've been on. I mean, I've ran. We don't really run buck right now. We probably will run a little bit more next year. And then when I was at Fairfield Christian, we ran a crap ton of buck before our stud got hurt. So kind of what does that look like for you guys out of the gun?
And again, I'm just going to put what we see because that's what we see. Now, last year, that kid at the wing was the fastest kid in the district. He was the fastest kid in the district as a sophomore. His junior year, this past year, obviously didn't get to have track, so but he's he's been lifting hardcore for his senior year. But I think he was about 155 pounds last season. So we had a really hard time pinning down anybody that they lined up in a 9. So what I'm going to do this year, if we get this, is I'm just going to release him here. We're going to come down, all right? And again, touch and claw, scrape and paint, whatever you call it. I want the upfield shoulder, touching cloth to dig that guy out. All right. And even if we hit him square and it's a stalemate right there, that's all. Now, if we get another guy, if we move our speedy guy out here in the slot, which we may do, we got a wrestler. This kid is he's a strong, any kid that you have that's in wrestling is just always going to be dirty in the wing tee because they understand leverage, right? They live in that world. So if we do, we'll collapse this down, almost like a double team running through to this backer. But drop step, touch cloth, dig this guy out. Our center does a good job with one-on-ones. And then we're going to take and get a little bit of depth, like a 45 on the drop step. And then we're aiming to sprint up and what we call a J or a U, whatever you want to call it. Different guys call it whatever. But it's a U block, J block, whatever. We want him looking inside for that free safety because, again, for us, this guy is usually below 10 yards. So that's one of those things. And then, again, we will run on the backside. If we are RPO, we'll lock this guy. If we run regular buck, we can chip and run off to this backside backer, or the old school touchdown block where we'll punch him, and if this guy's non-reactive or if we've thrown that RPO behind him and he's slow playing it, we'll tell him to chip and run that touchdown block looking for that backside corner over here. And then we are open, crossover, plant, and we're trying, and this is one of those things where Coach Simpson and I are very similar on, is the towel in the back of the lineman, trying to get to where you can touch it, reach it, be right up on his back. But I want that really true bend. I'm not really focused. A lot of purists want that, 90 cut. I'm not really looking for that in the pistol or the gun. I want it to hit as fast as possible, and I want him to run it almost like he's running the 200 meter or the relay. I want him leaning into it, churning, going as fast as he can, because this quick guard is taught that when you make that turn, the first thing you see, you run through it. And even if you whiff, you forced him to pick a side. And in our back, we teach to be so close that if he picks a side, then we just cut opposite. If the quick guard runs through and the back gets tackled right there, it's because the back made the wrong decision and he gets fussed at, not the quick guard. The quick guard's job is just to blow through as fast as you can, make somebody make a decision, and then we go opposite.
Okay. Is RPO the main way you hold that backside backer on buck sweep?
No, because I'll run crisscross as well. The crisscross counter, which everyone knows, but also we will run what we call quick power as well, right? So this is where we will get a double on the nose, and then we'll just base out. We'll step and base, get your butt to the hole. And when we run quick power, it's just Q for quick for Q, right? Quarterback. And we'll run it in quick, talking about, so we have strong side and quick side. And then all we're doing is running that buck path, and we get that down block double on the nose, lets this backside backer feel, that movement, and to hold him, we'll just run quick power right off of that with a quarterback.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's always my wonder with that. Because I know a lot of people RPO that backside or do crisscross, but that's a nice little other adjustment for that.
Yeah, just go quick power, because really, honestly, you're putting the ball in the same place. And this year, I've got a kid who was all conference as a defensive back, cornerback, who is going to be taking snaps for us at the 4 quarterback in the single wing stuff, but in that quarterback position in the pistol and the gun. So he's athletic, he's got wheels, and he's going to just be a junior this year. So I'm excited to see what he does on this. But yeah, that is my that's my kind of combat if I'm not feeling putting the ball in the air. Because look, RPOs do take time, but this is the easiest RPO in the history of the world for me. And if I can get the kids at Castlewood to do this, and they've done it very well, where they sit down and all you're doing is you step left and you point the ball right at his crotch. And if he crosses the ball, right, if he's to that side chasing, then we just pull, drop our foot, because right now we don't have a left-handed quarterback, thank God, because that thing changes everything up. The natural footwork off this is drop your right foot and then fire the ball in there. That's about an 8-yard throw. And that's why I differ from Coach Simpson and a couple others who run, that throttled down peak route. I would rather just go ahead and make the 8-yard throw, which ends up being about a 4 to 5 yard pass that's complete. He catches it. If he catches it and falls down, it's the same as running trap. It's the same as running belly. It's the same as running whatever we've ran that gets us 4 to 5 yards, and I'm good with it. And I tell them that. If you throw it and it's 4 to 5 yards, I'm good with it. If you hand it off and you could have thrown it for 4 to 5 yards, I'm still good with it because I gave you that option. Right?
Now, do you have any hot reads? Like if you see that guy blitzing, is this guy is the number 2 guy in the twin ever reading the backer? And if he sees that he blitzes, just go and replace him. Do you guys have anything like that, or do you just always tag the snag route to go with it?
No, I don't have any hot reads. I just, I'll just be honest. I don't trust them. enough.
No, I get it. I'm that way to a T. Because in all seriousness, I was going to ask you how you would block an underfront. Because I've had a lot of success with, kind of, because I understand that the center has the hardest job in the world when he's got a one-tap to buck sweep.
Yep. So how
do you go about that? I would love to see how you draw that up.
When we get this right here,
team, and I demolished them with it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And then I usually put him at the tackle on the outside shoulder of the guard. Outside shoulder.
Yeah, he's
but that way, I know the tight end's got to block a tackle. Yeah.
Yeah, 5-3, and we'll either get a head up or a strong shade in the front, but usually in a 4 or a 5, and then he's in a 9.
Yeah, I always put the end on the wing because I never want my corner being a kick out block the buck. That's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, if I get under front, I run, and I don't know if you're ready to talk about it yet, but that's when I go down.
That is actually going to be my next spot is pistol down, because I'm very curious on what that looks like. Obviously, shotgun down is a whole different kind of in timing wise, and like I said, but
I can't figure out how to get it to match. So I can't out of the gun. It's hard. There's one guy that I can't remember if he's in North Carolina. He's a coach that we connected on Facebook, and he's been running some practices and kind of taking some just videos of some things. And we were talking about, because he's evolved to pistol, and so I was like, I want to run this out of gun. So could you try that? And so he literally put in this thing where he went. It's like double wing. I'm gonna draw it up. I'll show you. But he took this guy here to the quick side and ran a really fast like jet. I think it was, yeah. And then he ran the thing. So I was thinking, well, what if we ran, instead of being over the inside foot of the tackle, what if we're like right at the quarterback and then run down this way? But I don't know. I still can't commit to it. And, I might like take after practice one day in February when it's freezing cold and take him into the field house and be like, hey, let's line up and just walk through this. But probably not. So.
I think once you get into pistol, to a degree, you obviously sacrifice speed. But I think you can make it deceptive. I always teach reading guards, the win team, but I try to read guards to everything, keep the read the same, because I coach inside linebackers. But a lot of teams read backfield flow. Yeah. Especially if it's in the gun. Yeah, it might be worth looking into. It hits slower. But teaching this little tailback, or the guy right behind the quarterback, kind of bend over to the left and run a little down this way. You know what I mean? See if you can kind of help the flow of the linebackers going this way. I don't know, man. Down's always been tough for me. I always thought trapping the gun was pretty hard to do that. Yeah. Because it's just, you're hitting it from 8 yards instead of 3 yards, 4 yards.
So that's one thing. When we're in pistol, our quarterback's at 3. He's at 5. Sorry, okay. I don't know why I drew F.
So it's a little bit more.
Last year, and our quarterback was at like 4, and our fullback was at like 7.
Oh no! Heck no!
Holy moly! Yeah, I said, "Holy shit!"
You might as well run trap from the gun.
So I was sitting there like, man, I'm a back, but I could scrape over top and still make the play for 2 yards. That's all. Slow it.
So yeah, if I get under front, now listen though, if I get under front, and we did see this first round of the playoffs, and I burned them with down, but they stayed in it. And so to prove a point, I still went X-ray. And then I went slow-mo across, open up. And it was like a 30-yard run sometime in the second quarter, just belly ISO out of the pistol. with that cross block.
Yeah. And I'll tell you the philosophy, because I'll live, when I faced the wing T teams, last year I did it, I knew from a philosophy standpoint, when I went under, that I was giving up belly and trap to the weak side.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able, because I knew when T coaches would see it. So I spent a lot of time practicing belly and trap to the weak side. The strong side, I said, we're going to probably get down because it protects these two gaps right here. Mm-hmm. And I said, so we're going to get down to this, and we'll probably get some kind of a fold action to the backside. Definitely a lot of motion over to the belly, you know what I mean, to try to get number aspect. But I do think the one benefit from what I had success with, I never really, no one ever really tried to hit belly on me to the weak side, which I always thought was surprising. But something that quick, I thought was pretty good. The little cross action right there. Because it just happened so fast, man. I mean, this is a tough field. What do you teach? Put us inside. Do you teach just, how do you teach a scraping guard over top?
So this guy, the quick tackle, is going to straight flat open, and he's just going to wash it down. Mm-hmm. He's going to straight wash down. And even if he stalemates him, that's fine. Because formations are limited, my guys aren't like their picture doesn't change a lot, right? So if we know, because I will also run jet off of this guy, no matter what he's been taught, he's got the outside. So he's taking that outside rush lane to be, the force. And so that opens up, it just becomes a bucket step and push. And then it's just a natural lane that we just come in and we take that outside in approach. That way, if he scrapes over, we're still going to hit it. And if we hit it square, I just want a two-way go. And just like, I drew up belly in the gun, it's inside rip, cut off, inside rip, cut off, inside rip, cut off. Not really worried, especially if we're in under and we get that 4 or 5 on the outside or on the strong side. I'm not really worried about that much. And then we'll have, the belly sweep, because if they are in the under front with nobody, we're going to run belly till he squeezes. And then once he squeezes, he gets hooked. And then now we just fake, turn the back, and give that belly sweep. We're cracking the free safety, and we want to make that kid make the tackle.
Sure. That's something I haven't really been challenged on. But I will say, one thing I was not really ready for is when, and it really wasn't belly. It was, they would motion the wing over, like a shuffle motion, and they blocked out on the 3-tech. Mm-hmm. And kind of do almost like a fold action. It was pretty badass. He blocked out on this 3-tech, and they fold to the play side, and this shuffle motion kicked this guy out. And they just, I called it belly because the concept of it, but it was incredible. That's something I wasn't even remotely prepared for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, they picked my butt there. I couldn't stop it. They were running for 5 yards, 4 yards. And the only reason why I was doing it is I had 2 inside linebackers that were incredible. No other reason. That should have been 18-yard gains, and I had no idea how to stop it. So, but I never thought about running belly swoop to that.
Yep. So belly sweep to that under.
And that's probably next thing in the arsenal if I could figure out how to stop that belly play, but I wasn't able to stop the belly play, so I didn't get to that. That's pretty good.
And so for you guys, when we talked about down, I'm going to run quick motion underneath, almost like a strong jet. Arc release, he's got that. And then we're going to down. And then if we need to chip, we can. But he's running through to that. And then we're same as the buck sweep. So like our power block is the same for this guy when he does. Our down is the same as the buck sweep, right? So our trailer and buck sweep, we block it the same if we run power out of our base single wing or power out of pistol. Now, one thing that I am thinking about doing is I'm thinking about moving my other back to like where he's at 3, so toes are at 3, toes are at 5, and then having this guy at like 4.
You think about going like down option look out of that, or?
Yeah, so that now we go here, right? And so now he has to widen fast. So that motion, and as soon as he leaves the vision of the quarterback, that's when we snap the ball, and now we get that hard angle. Well, that's a little bit, inside hip of the tight end is where you're trying to run, and then you got that bend if you can, bounce if you can type deal, wanting him to make the tackle. But yeah, and I'm thinking about doing this, putting both of those backs back at either 4, both of them at 4, or both of them at 5, because I haven't been very good as a wing T guy and just wing T coach, period, at really doing a good job at running power. We run power really well out of our single wing sets, right? Which power, or the 6 play out of single wing, is like buck is to wing T, right? Once you have that 6 play, everything it falls off of it. The count, the weak power, the 23 power, and all the things, all that jazz, right? So I want to move guys back so that I can be better at power, because it's something that we invest a lot of time in. But last year when we kind of went into that single wing T, I didn't have power. We ran it like a couple times, but it was never good. But it was my fault because I was trying to play, that guy at the standard like quarterback depth, instead of in my mind thinking, well, if I just step him back a little bit, or even to 5 yards, that's a much better angle. And then that's the same angle for him that he's taking out of the gun for buck sweep. So for him, it's the same exact play. Like, it's the same exact track. So now it's look-alike for him, maybe not look-alike for the defense, but it's something that I don't have to teach him new steps. He already knows those steps. So, yeah, it's just something that I'm looking at doing this year in the spring to try to, double my output from one small change.
I'll tell you, if you're kind of interested in doing a power, I think the one thing that I did my first place coaching at power, we had a pretty reluctant old school Delaware wing T kind of guy, and he always just preached buck needs to look like power. And I said, no, it doesn't. I said, who cares? And we finally kind of did it where we double teamed everything. Like if we got a 3-tech to, like if we're playing an odd front, we got a 3-tech to the tight side. We did what we called a togo, which was a tackle guard. We'd have a tackle guard combo block. The tight end would be gap down backer, and then the center would block back on the 1-tech, and the guard would pull and J block around. If we got an under front, then we had what we called a grease, which was guard center combo, and a top, which was a tackle. You know what I mean? And we just plugged the B gap.
Yeah.
But double team the living crap out of pop. The teams can't stop it.
If I don't go to moving that guy back, which I probably will, if I do leave it even with the quarterback, I've thought about doing something that you just mentioned about making power look like buck. It's not going to be like trap where you can't tell the two plays apart in the first 3 steps. But fullback has that banana path to kick out anyways. Mm-hmm. Taking the cue, opening with his backside foot, right? So you're almost like perpendicular to the line, and then spinning off with the underneath handoff here, so that it looks like down but then it's power.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I haven't ran that yet, but that's something that I've been kicking around, that if I don't make the change, that's one way that I can give power.
That's incredibly deceptive too.
Yeah, still maintaining the same path for that back that he runs on all the other stuff, but gaining more deception, because power, the only deceptive part of power when you're under center is that when this quarterback reverse pivots and sprints out and gives him the ball, the only deception is anybody that's inverted over here that has backside has to think for a second, is it power or is it power pass, or what am I doing? With this, I can occupy the eyeballs of pretty much anybody in this range right now. Anybody that's there is going to buzz step for a second, think about it, and if I can get them to think about it, then I can get my kids to where I need them to be.
All right, well, Coach, I'll kind of wrap it up there. Again, I appreciate you coming on. If coaches want to get a hold of Coach Vaughn here, I'm gonna look at it so I don't make sure I don't say anything wrong. Or you can find him on Twitter at WingRaidCoach. I know Coach is also working on his own Wing T podcast and his variation of that. Make sure when that does come out, check it out. But Coach is very easy to get a hold of. Again, check him out on Twitter. And then if you're a part of any like the Facebook Wing T groups, Coach is also in there as well. And Coach, I thank you for coming on. Coach Derry, good seeing you again. But that is episode 3 of the Got Down Backer podcast, and we will see you next time. Thank you.